It's time for a reality check.
We're here to deconstruct health and fitness trends and provide tangible advice so you can become 1% better with each choice starting today. Welcome back to Reality Check. We are your hosts, Jess and Jill, and today we're just going to jump right in. We're talking about biohacking, and we kind of touched on this very, very briefly in our previous episode on health trends in 2025, but really, like, what is biohacking? Jess and I probably talk about these things all of the time. And I feel like this was just like an adventure we went on in 2024 where it was like, hey, have you heard of this? Or do you know the benefits? Or is this legit? Or let's try this and give it a couple weeks and X, Y, and Z. So we do a lot, if not all of these. There are some new things that I learned about and things that I want to try still. I used to just be very anti, like, woo-woo, just black and white, eat food, lift weights, go to bed, rinse and repeat. And now I really see the benefits in after understanding your circadian rhythm and understanding your nervous system better and how that all ties in so much to your overall health. And I was a very high stress, rolling through life. Genuinely, I don't know how I made it through most days, living absolutely recklessly and on the edge. And I thought, it's fine, I can tolerate it. And I didn't realize the toll that it was taking on my body to work 14 hours a day and not eat all day and not set boundaries in life and say yes to everyone. And it sounds silly, but there's your first biohack. Set some boundaries and say no when you feel like it. I feel like I'm teaching Jess this every day.
Well, and I'm like a neuroscience nerd who is like, teach me all of the whys and show me the research article on how red light exposure is going to improve what blah, 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 right? Like, whether you like him or not as a person, Andrew Huberman has made this whole space super popular because he's sharing all of the, light exposure at these speeds at for 10 minutes every morning can improve. So I see pros and cons to this because I think it's super cool from a science nerd out standpoint. I love this stuff. Mm-hmm. But then I cringe real hard when I see even him, who is the most well-versed in the actual research, when I see influencers and people on the internet posting like, did cold plunges every day for 30 days and lost 3 inches on my belly. And it's like, what? Like, you're tying these things together. Yeah, like, it drives me up a wall when especially fitness influencers are sharing biohacks as if they are direct correlations to physique change. That drives me bonkers because I'm like, you guys are missing the point, because the point is for nervous system health most of the time, or circadian rhythm or hormonal health or whatever, which obviously there's a trickle down. Our whole system works together. But all the things we're about to talk about, I always have to give this disclaimer. All the things we're about to talk about are cherries on top. If you're getting like 4 hours of sleep a night and not moving your body at all and eating 20 grams of protein a day, if you're eating a standard American diet and never moving your body and not sleeping, none of these are going to make an impact that is noticeable on your life. And again, I'm not saying like don't do them. Any pursuit you want to take in your health is getting the ball rolling, right? Like, snowball it however you want to start it. But these are all cherries on top. These things are not the big things, right? So we talk about the basics over and over. Still start with a foundation of the basics. Please lift some weights, go for walks, eat more protein, eat more fruits and vegetables and plants. Don't stare at your phone until 11 p.m. every night. Do those things first. And then now let's get into our biohacks.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Okay. We have a little list here, and it's funny. We just were like listing off some of the things that we do. Kick off. We'll each start with like our favorite one off the list, or like maybe one that we do the most. What would you say is like one of your favorite biohacking tools to implement?
Breathwork and meditation. And this is something that back in the day, I would have been like, I did say, this is the most woo-woo BS thing I've ever heard of. You can't just turn off your brain. Like, these are just hippies who are talking about chakras and stuff. Like, so I was in a Tibetan yoga intensive in college because I just needed extra credits my last year. And I was like, I had an exercise science minor and I was like, I just need some movement class. After like a week of this, I was like, I need to drop this class. This is the most boring thing I've ever done in my life. This lady's off her rocker. She like studied under the Dalai Lama or something. After about a month into this class, and it was 2 or 3 days a week for 3 hours at a time. So it was like, I'm going deep now in yoga and meditation land, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to sit here and be bored. And at the time, I was the high achiever. I'm going to work out 6 days a week at high intensity and eat 1,200 calories. And I know everything about how to stay fit because physically I'm fit, right? So I must be good at this, which is not how I coach now.
Okay.
So this was the most boring thing in my life. About a month into it, I was like, whoa, the changes in all the other areas in my life are wild. I don't understand the science. I don't understand why this is working, but this is doing something physically to my body. I'm sleeping better. I am having less anxiety. I was able to have reactions that were more appropriate and less dramatic because I was able to slow down in my brain a little bit and be like, that's not about me. This person's reaction doesn't affect me. I was able to disconnect and be more logical in my responses in life because it physically changes your brain and your ability to respond to stressors. It physically increases the gray matter in your brain. It changes your neural pathways. So anybody and actually, I have a hard time with this. So I am a Christian and I go to church, and I have a hard time with this because I've heard a lot of fellow Christians be like, oh, well, that's like blasphemy. Like, oh, are you following Buddhism or something if you believe this? And it's like, no, this is a scientific thing that you can physically change your brain and lower your stress response through your breath. So pray during it if that helps you feel better about it. This is not about a religion. I really want to put that out there because I think there's a lot of people who don't even try breath work because they think that that it has to be more than just a physical healing thing for your body. But there's also, me and Jill went to a nutrition conference in Florida a couple of years ago. And one of the leading researchers, I don't want to say the wrong name. I think it's Brian Simpson, maybe Brian. I'll maybe link it under. One of the researchers in breathwork, who works with like professional athletes, has a whole website where you can go in and he teaches you how to breathe because his research showed that people who were prone to sudden onset panic attacks, they could actually prevent, they were monitoring them as their heart rate was increasing and all this stuff. They could prevent panic attacks through just changing how they breathed. So there's a very physical thing where if you change your breath, and you can look into like the vagal theories and your vagus nerve and all that. There's a million different mechanisms. So I'm not going to claim that I know the one mechanism, right? It works in your body in so many different ways, but it physically works to put your body in a parasympathetic rest and recovery state.
Yep, absolutely. And I agree. I think this was, if I go back to 2021, where I had 2 back-to-back miscarriages, just got out of having the C word terribly, just got my IUD out, was, not eating, not working out, working all the time, absolutely exhausted, not getting sleep, just was in full burnout mode. People messaged me recently when I talk about it and say, like, what did you do? And I'm like, I did breath work. I meditated so much. I did so much yoga. I did all of the things and gave all of the inputs that my body was desperately missing. And, people talk about, and I've researched this a lot too. People have talked about like libido, like I have no libido. Now, that's a very blanket statement. There's a lot of factors that go into that. I cannot speak on the status of your relationship and how lovely of a partner you do or don't have. However, from a basic standpoint, having a higher libido requires you to be in a parasympathetic state. So if you are go, taking care of the house, taking care of the kids, working all the time, not eating, and you're not doing anything to send the signal to your body to relax and rest and have fun and you're okay and you're safe, if your body is constantly in this high stress, sympathetic state of like, I don't know what's going to happen next. Your body doesn't know if you're on a diet, off a diet, you're sleeping 4 hours, whatever. Of course you have no libido. Your body's doesn't give a shit about reproduction because you can't even handle your
in survival
problems, right?
mode. It's just trying to help you live. It's not trying to thrive and reproduce.
Yeah. So like a little bit of a tangent, but ultimately like it is the solution to a lot of problems. And Jess and I have said this countless times on this podcast that if you think breathwork and meditation are boring or woo-woo or I don't have time for that, you need it more than anyone, I promise. And I was that person. it has so many benefits. And I'll try to link the book too towards, I read a whole book specifically on vagus nerve and your nervous system and how to stimulate it and all of the
The
benefits.
vagal nerve theory is a very popular one if you guys want to look up that book.
Yeah.
Also, how you do it matters. So I always try to explain to clients that, and again, this is coming from personal experience of not knowing how to turn off my brain because I'm constantly, this internal dialogue of my to-do list and all this is happening. It's a practice. People say meditation practice or yoga practice. The intention is to someday learn to be present. This doesn't even have to be in the form of meditation. Maybe it's just playing outside with your kids. Maybe it's going for a walk in nature. The intention is to turn off your brain and be present. If you are going to a yoga class as an excuse to get another workout, or you're thinking about your to-do list while you're listening to your guided meditation just to check the box, you will not reap the benefits of it. You need to turn off your devices. You need to turn off your cell phone, and actually be present and try to just focus on your breath while doing whatever that thing is. We had another coach, and I loved an example she used. She said, I don't care if you're sitting and looking out your window, watching leaves fall on a tree. That could be a form of meditation. I don't care if you go out to your kid's swing set and you're playing on the swing. That's a form, do something where you are all there, and that is healing for your brain.
Where you can't be distracted or pulled away. And listen, I will be the first to say the first many, many times that you go to sit and do breath work and meditate, your brain's going to be all over the place. You're going to shit. I got to do the dishes. I got to do laundry. I got to get the kids in 20 minutes. That's okay. It takes practice to be able to fully quiet yourself and be present. But the more you practice, the more you're going to be able to pivot. And that is a powerful, powerful tool as a human. One of the things that I love to do, and I actually did this the other day, and it was so funny. I knew that I needed to take a nap and rest and just pause from the day, but I could not turn my brain off. I laid on the couch. I literally put an eye mask on. It was 1:00 in the afternoon the other day. I laid with my dogs, another underrated tool, and I put a 15-minute guided sleep meditation on my app, Insight Timer. I didn't even finish it. I was out in probably 7 minutes. Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer are incredible, incredible apps. I have no problem paying $60 a year for the app Insight Timer because I use it so much for meditation. There's midday reset your focus. I have high anxiety. I need to go to sleep. There's 30-day meditation programs in there you can follow. It's such a great tool to jumpstart you into this. And kind of get in the groove. And one day you'll get to the point where you can just go sit in the grass and do breath work for 15 minutes and do it in pure silence and really relax and recover. But that's how I got into it.
There's a website, and I've used this ever since I first tried it. It's called fragrantheart.com. And it's just some lady. I liked her voice, so I listened to it. But she has free ones on her website if you want to go there. It's not a new app or anything. But she also has a 5-day learn how to meditate intro there that I like, because it can talk you through okay, you're probably going to have thoughts pop up. This is how we're going to come right back to your breath. Here's what we're focusing on. I really like that one as a tool. So, okay, I jumped right into this. You asked, what's your favorite biohack? And I went on a whole breath work tangent.
Wait, you have to tell about the tool though, that you told me.
This is great. Okay. So maybe our next one, let's get into biohacks, wearable devices and AI and stuff that's coming out right now.
Okay. So breath work, I was we got to mention this.
Okay, so I got my brother and sister-in-law this thing for Christmas. It's called Moonbird, and I do not have one personally. My sister-in-law struggles with anxiety and really just trauma has caused her body to be why am I in this anxious state? I'm not in an anxious spot. I'm exercising. She's great with her sleep routines. So I got them this thing, and it's a device you hold that trains you how to breathe. So you hold it and it physically expands, and then it tracks your data. So your thumb is on it, and there's an app that's associated with it that tells you how to breathe, and it slows down your heart rate. And it's wild. She has an Oura Ring, which is completely unrelated to this device. And she said her recovery scores, she's been using it since Christmas. And right now we're at the end of January. Her recovery scores on her Oura Ring, even without changing anything in her hours of sleep, her recovery scores have improved, and her stress ratings every day have been lower than they were in the past since using this breathing device. Again, just supporting the data, but also if you are I don't know where to start and I can afford to purchase something to help, like why not use a device that helps?
Yeah, absolutely. I am, when Jess told me about this, I was like, I'm absolutely buying this. That's like right up my alley. And then when it comes to devices, Jess and I touched on this briefly in the previous episode, but I love my Aura so much. I love the data that a lot of these devices give. There's a new ring out, Superhuman, I think. I don't know much about it, but I think it's quite similar to Aura, same concept. But I think devices like this can be really helpful for data, and like that
Specifically for recovery.
Yeah.
Like we're not using it to look at how many calories we burn.
I'm
during a
tracking my
workout.
cycle. I don't do anything. Whenever it's like, did you just work out? I'm like, no, don't worry about
I
it.
don't care about that data. I
Yeah.
care about
Mind your business.
the recovery responses. It'll know. Are you starting to get a little bit sick because your stress levels seem high and your sleep scores seem a little low this week? And it's like, whoa, yeah, I am. How did my ring
And
know
the
that?
beauty of that is now proactivity, where I might push
Yeah.
through until I actually have a fever. If my aura is telling me that, not that I rely on that, I listen to my body too. But if I see that, I'm like, oh, am I getting sick? Like, am I
Permission to take it a little
like,
easier in the gym. Maybe I don't need to
Yes.
push through as much because clearly my body is at higher stress levels. Other
Right.
days, if it says, wow, you look really recovered, you've been sleeping great all week, I'm like, you're right. I should go really push myself. Maybe I try to hit some
Yeah.
PRs in the gym.
validate some extra push. So yeah, same. It's all about recovery. I love learning about heart rate variability and optimizing that. Has like cardiovascular age. It'll, I don't know what
Yeah.
really all of the data that it uses for that marker specifically, but it's just great. It's a great tool for things like that. I like monitoring my sleep. I liked if it's like, hey, you normally average 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep and you've getting like 6, is everything okay? And I'm like, man, okay, so I need to be a little bit more intentional. Like maybe I wasn't even paying attention to that. So that's what I think those devices should be used for. Like cycle tracking is great for that. To be super in tune. Jess and I are like, clockwork. We know when we're about to get our cycle based on mood, based on the way our sleep scores change. We just talked about this in a text the other day. We were like, oh, it's that week. That's why my recovery scores are lower, right? Because the week before our cycle, that is very powerful knowledge to have when it comes to like approaching and optimizing your health. So that's what I like about those devices.
I think we should do like rapid fire, yay, nay, what do we use it for? Because some of these on this list I do use, some I don't use, some I've heard great things, but I've never tried or I don't understand the science. So, okay, both of us are yays to red light therapy.
Absolutely. I think it has so many benefits.
Look up the types that are actually impactful, like, because there's different I don't even know all the details. There's different wavelengths. There's different types of red light. There's like the near infrared. So you want to look up the types and follow the appropriate protocols for whichever type you've gotten. Huge for mitochondrial health and rejuvenation. So your cells can actually change at a deep level. They've even shown impacts on brain health and mental health, which is wild. So it's not just topical. There's tons of benefits for skin conditions if you have skin issues. I've been using it for my daughter for eczema, which I believe is like an allergy type inflammatory response that she's been having or some sort of autoimmune thing. And it's been helping as a let's fix the symptoms so that you're physically not uncomfortable right now while we figure out the deeper thing. Big fan of red light therapy.
Absolutely. And red light, what I started using it for was like the regulation of my circadian rhythm, and it can mimic like sunset basically. So I would use it in the evenings. I use it post-workout for recovery and absolutely can help with like recovery and inflammation. I
find it makes me feel calm after. I'll do 10 minutes on each side. Like I'll stand and then flip and get my back for 10 minutes.
And so it supports melatonin production too, which is great. So it's super beneficial for circadian rhythm. Recovery, you can use it in the morning. It's not bad to use it, especially all of the blue light exposure that we all get all day from screens and devices. So evening is great, like Jess said, to relax, unwind, sleep, circadian rhythm. Absolutely recommend red light therapy.
Cold exposure. Okay, this is one of those things that I'm like, now every athlete and their mom is like, cold exposure, I do it to recover. And it's like, okay, but also if you want muscle hypertrophy, you're stunting that. So like, there's a big debate on this. Here's why I like cold exposure. I do not use it for muscle recovery. I do not use it for workout, for physical aches and pains. I use it for mental health because there's been research that even just like 3 minutes, 3 or 4 days a week of a cold shower can help reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. So personally, I struggle with both of those things. I go through waves of it, and there's a lot of data on it. So I don't have a ice bath or a cold tank or anything, literally cold shower and work your way up. At first, I could barely get 1 whole minute. I would take my normal shower first, and then I would turn it to cold at the very end. There's fun short-term benefits. Like I'll do this in the morning and I feel amped up. I feel like I'm oh, yay, I'm ready to go crank out some work now. They actually did a study with some device that was like ice gloves. And they used it on athletes pre-workout, and those athletes had better performance just from their hands being cold exposed, right? So there's something to it about performance also, but I like it for mental health benefits.
Mm-hmm. I read something about the cold gloves preventing like overheating and like endurance depleting, I guess, throughout. I'm not sure if that's the study that you read too, but I agree with Jess in that cold plunges early morning, midday, coming from someone with ADHD, it helps my focus immensely. Dopamine is a huge factor when it comes to ADHD management and medications and all of that. So it definitely can boost dopamine and also just make you feel like awake and good and peppy and all of that. It also, what Jess said, they say not to do it immediately after strength training because it can slow down muscle growth or hypertrophy. So doing it pre-workout, which is what I've always done. My husband and I for a long time did cold plunge, lift, and then red light sauna after. And that was kind of our flow. I did not do that every day because he is better than me and I can't be cold that many times in a week. But it's great for performance and inflammation. And then you can do it after strength training. Just, you got to give it the right time for your body to do it.
But think of it like ice, like people will ice their muscles when they get injured because it reduces inflammation. So the concept is if you do it after a workout, okay, it reduces inflammation. So that might help you feel better if you are chronically overtraining or if you're a professional athlete or something. For the general population, that level of inflammation on the muscle is a desired stress response that we want to adapt to. So you don't want to stifle it by icing it and reducing the intentional inflammation of an exercise if done right.
Now, there's some things that say not to cold plunge during certain parts of your cycle, and it's good for men and bad for women.
Stupid. Ignore that.
Yes, I think we're totally missing the mark here. It's just like cycle syncing your training, which I should have talked about that with trends.
Listen to your body. Listen to your body.
Yeah, it has a lot of benefits, and I don't think that should deter you. So yes, I am a fan of cold plunge.
All right. So sauna, this is one that I think Jill has been on. She has one herself. She has been on the bandwagon of for a long time. I'm like, okay, everybody who loves their sauna, I don't get it. I get overheated easily. I want to puke. Recently, here's how I've been using sauna and quite enjoying it. I get like, I guess the symptoms you're talking about of ADHD, where I am all over the place. I'm going a mile a minute. I can't slow down, which maybe this is why I like the breath work as my favorite hack. I've been recently using the sauna for like 10, 15 minutes max after my workouts. And I usually work out in the morning before a work day. It helps me slow my brain down. There's something about it physically that brings me back down to baseline after I'm all amped up from a workout. And I'm usually not doing super high intensity workouts, but they're high intensity because of my heavy lifts. So like my blood's pumping, my brain is going, I'm all over the place, and it's hard to focus when I get home and I want to sit down and work. Sitting in the sauna for 10 minutes actually mentally, it helps my mental health. And that's why I've been doing it post-workout.
Yep, love that. I am absolutely a huge fan of sauna, and actually contrast therapy is hot and cold therapy and using both.
Yep.
There's actually, it's funny, there's a new facility locally to me that is specifically for that. The entire facility is just a bunch of cold plunges and a bunch of saunas, and it's strictly for each room has one of each, and you do one and then you do the other. And there's a lot of benefits to doing that, but I am a huge fan of sauna. My personal home sauna is an infrared, and it has near and far. We did a lot of research on that. I have people ask me for the link every time I post about it. So there are different benefits to a red light therapy, and then
Sauna.
an actual like sauna rocks, like sweating. I don't know.
Like a dry sauna. Yeah, the one I go to, it's like a dry sauna. So there's different benefits to those, but all in all, getting your body temperature up. I mean, there's so many benefits to it. I did the sauna
I would say like 30 minutes at a time. You also have to work up to this, like 3 to 4 days a week. It's one of those things. Same with cold plunges. Remember that our bodies adapt. So like if it adapts,
It'll
and
stop
we're just
working.
gonna go normal, yeah, you're not going to reap all of the benefits of cold plunges if you just do it all day, every day. I think Joe Rogan talks on his podcast about how he does it every day. Cool. I mean, whatever, if that just feels good. He
If it
basically said
makes
he
you
does
feel
it for, like,
good.
the mental resilience of doing hard shit right when he wakes up. But
So I wanted to talk about that, the hard stuff, because I think there's value to our brain health and our nervous system from both cold exposure and sauna for that same purpose. So there might be other mechanisms at play, but there is a physical region of your brain that develops and is fired up more when you do things that are hard. There is also this concept that you can reset your dopamine system where you don't need instant gratification because you're building your resilience up as a person, that then can reduce anxiety and depression and things because your body starts to realize like, oh, if I could do that, this other thing physically doesn't feel as hard, which is wild. It's not just a psychological thing, it's a physical thing. That's, I think, why. Do you ever listen or read any books from Wim Hof? Mr. Like Brett. Okay. So he's like, sounds like a wackadoodle if you listen to him talk. And like a lot of the whys behind it, I'm like, this guy's off his rocker. But it works. And the reason that I think this breathwork stuff and the cold exposure and all the stuff that he does works is because it's building up people's tolerance to uncomfortable things. So I think like that has a lot to do with it outside of why each different method works, why breathing this many times and then holding your breath. Like I can't get with all of it, but there's something to be said about like waking up and doing something really hard over and over again. Eventually life doesn't feel as overwhelming for the other stuff.
Yep. And also with like contrast therapy specifically, you're essentially putting yourself in a higher stress, like sympathetic state, right? When you are getting in the cold plunge, and then when you go to the sauna, it's parasympathetic. So you are training your body to recover,
respond
way more efficiently and be able to pivot into one and then pivot right into the other. And there is a lot of power in that for so many reasons for your health. But yeah, there's a lot of research, and I definitely have learned most of this initially through Huberman Lab podcasts, and I feel like he shares a lot. I appreciate the data that he shares on this topic, but yeah, they talk about like brown adipose tissue when it comes to exposure for the brown fat. So there are body fat burning, I'm putting in air quotes, and metabolic benefits.
I think that's negligible, and that shouldn't be the why behind anybody doing this. It's so negligible compared to just strength training and eating properly. Don't do it for physique change. Do it for mental health. Do it for your sympathetic nervous system, for recovering.
Detox, circulation, immunity, inflammation, all of those things are awesome things to focus on. So yes, love all of that.
So since you just brought up Huberman again, sun, that's like his claim to fame is eye therapy in the sun. So I think that's a huge biohack is like, okay, get exposure in the sunlight.
This is my favorite one.
Early in the day. Turn off your screens and your cell phones and your TV, or at least, I don't know the effectiveness of blue blockers, but at least do some blue blockers. I have my cell phone set to a thing that turns off bright blue lights after a certain time when the sun sets. Do everything possible to replicate how our bodies should be living, which is like with the sun, not in this artificial setup where we're staring at screens all day and then we look at screens at night and that now our body doesn't produce melatonin or it produces cortisol at the wrong time in the day.
I remember taking one of my first functional courses and going through circadian rhythm, and I was like, why am I doing this? And they were talking about even little night lights or just little like on your ceiling, like the fire detectant, whatever, like that has the little blinking lights on them. This is dramatic, but I'm just trying to make a point in that exposure to those, or like going to the bathroom in the middle of the night and kicking all the lights on, that is signaling to your body, hey, it's time to wake up. Cortisol is going up, melatonin's going down. And then you're like, I don't know why I can't fall asleep or why I have a hard time going to sleep. And it's like, you have blue light directly in your face on TVs, on phones, on whatever. And you're just scrolling, not to mention the dopamine factor, but that's whatever. So the statistic that stuck with me was that blue light exposure, even brief, can decrease your melatonin by like 80% or something super crazy.
Just waking up and like going to the bathroom at night. It's not even,
Yes, that,
this
like,
has
brief
nothing to do with
exposure.
staring at TikTok for 3 hours
Yes.
before bed.
Hours and hours. And then you're like, we're going to the doctor for sleep disorders. And I take this to fall asleep at night. And it's like, oh my gosh, we have such. So if you have a hard time sleeping at night, the ultimate biohack, go to bed early and get off your phone. But they say the best way, hands down, over everything else to regulate your circadian rhythm is morning sun exposure. Start to
Picture
tell your body waking up right now, and it'll regulate. So that moment that you expose to sun, there is a time limit on that rhythm. If you say every morning, here's sun in my eyeballs, I am ready to wake up and start my day, it's 8 hours or 10, 12 hours, whatever it is, your body knows, okay, it's been this many hours since I've had that initial big bright time to wake up exposure. Now it's time to wind down. And then you have to work on the inputs at night to make sure you're not combating that natural rhythm.
And you have to keep that schedule, because if you're all over the place, if you're just doing it 3 days, 4 days a week, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're like, well, these are my days to sleep in, your body's not going to get in check. It has to be regular. But what you just said, picture a day that you spend on the beach. Like, I'm sitting in a chair all day, right? I'm not overly active doing something, but my rest is so much better because of that sunshine. So sunshine at day, avoiding bright lights and overstimulation at night. Even if you think it's a relaxing activity, if you're online shopping, if you're scrolling social media, those are stressors that our bodies and our brains are not meant to be handling.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then a couple other ones that we have, like grounding, nature grounding mats. Were you the one talking recently about grounding mats?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there's not enough data for me to feel sold on it, but I have grounding sheets myself. So like, I'm like worth a shot. There's a lot of research around grounding outside in nature, but I also am skeptical because, how much of that is just because you're being present and your nervous system isn't overstimulated? How much of it is because you're getting sunlight? It's very hard to isolate that factor. But like Brett has an electrical thing, like I don't know what it's called. One of those sensors that tests if you're doing like electrical work in a house. And we actually tested it on the grounding sheets, and like the charge physically went down. So I'm like, it's worth a shot. I've been using it since like sometime in December, I bought this, and I haven't noticed major differences, but some people swear by it. So not sold, but yes, experimenting.
I'm not, I bought a grounding mat also, one that you like plug in. I'm intrigued by it. I'm with you in that, like, I don't know, but like grounding in nature, like barefoot, feet in the sand on the beach, feet in the grass, in the dirt. All of that stuff is wildly beneficial for your health. And actually, what's funny is I was on a call for practitioners regarding gut health. And one of the things they said is that if somebody's microbiome, like the diversity is lacking, they encourage you to like be around more dogs, put your hands in the soil and garden more and have more exposure to those different things. So there's a lot of benefits outside of just your nervous system and mental health and all of that. I mean, there's a lot of gut health benefits too. So love, support, yes. What else do we have? We talked about, so different massage and body techniques like myofascial release, lymphatic drainage, which
I think I actually just marked this with an asterisk saying, I think we need to do a whole episode on this because we could get so deep in these different systems of the body and how they all work together. Yeah. But yes, these are both things that I used to think were woo-woo, that I am like, oh, it actually works. I just didn't understand the why. So I'm skeptical of anything I don't understand the why behind. But hugely helpful, especially for people dealing with like edema from medical conditions, people who have cancer and they're swollen, and lymphatic massage can be awesome. Or like some people will do like dry brushing and stuff to stimulate their lymphatic systems. Myofascial release or myofascial massage, I used to think of it from a trainer standpoint, thinking, oh, well, you just loosen up the knot in your muscle. So it's I'm looking at everything like it's a muscle problem because I'm a muscle practitioner, right? There's so much beyond it that can help you with mobility and pain management. I have a really wonderful myofascial massage specialist that I go to here in Delaware, and I refer people to. She helps people with chronic disease deal with pain through the fascial system. So our fascia is basically like this very thin tissue that covers all of our muscles and all of our organs. And it's all one big system. Like picture our skin as one big organ. our fascia is under our skin and over these other things. And that's why my friend Emily is a myofascial specialist in yoga, and she will describe it like, you know, when you open an orange and there's like the layer over the orange slices, that's like our fascia, right? We don't open an orange and all the juice spills out. And then we open each slice and now there's more fascia around every little piece of the orange, right? That's how our fascia works. So a lot of times, if you can work on one area of your fascia, it actually, because it's all attached, loosens up other areas. So it's like this was hugely helpful for me with my pelvic floor issues postpartum and some chronically like tight hip imbalance things that I couldn't figure out from a muscle standpoint. It's because something was pulling on me from a different place and I didn't understand that system.
100%. I love that so much. And same with like foam rolling. That's another one that's just like a
Similar
DIY way, right, for myofascial release. But coming back to lymphatic drainage, I got this 90-minute lymphatic massage, and I was like, I don't know, I just feel like something was telling me this is what I need to do. I got so freaking sick after this massage because it really does help. You know, your lymph is like
Toxins,
right? So she actually said, in my abdominal, like lower abdominal hip area, she was like, you have stuff is stuck and I can feel it. So that's an actual like true qualified provider can feel that and like helps move that lymph out for detoxification and getting out cellular waste.
You can do it to your own.
Yeah.
There's YouTube videos you can look up if you have sinus pressure or a cold where you can do it to your face and literally feel the stuff drain down your throat. It's wild. There's also benefit. Again, I don't know the specific research about people with Lyme disease, but like I have somebody in my family who struggles bad with chronic pain from Lyme disease for years. That is a organism that lives in your cells and it hides in your fat tissue, right? So deep massage or not deep massage, but fascial massage can loosen things like that up. So when I say toxins, I'm not throwing out like, oh, random toxins. That detox type feeling you had, people with Lyme disease struggle with that deeply after something like this because this thing is lying dormant in their cells, hiding, and now they're having this reaction. It comes out and then they hit it with antibiotics and they can kill it and treat their pain, right? So like there's all different ways to apply these different, we're calling them biohacks, but they're therapeutic methodologies and you just need to know the when and the why to apply it.
Yeah. And tying into one of the last ones for this episode, but it ties into lymphatic is castor oil packs. And the brand that is like at the forefront of this, I feel like in the space that I see at least is I think it's called Queen of Thrones. And they sell the castor oil with the different packs. There's like a thyroid pack, there's a liver one, and it's shown to help with detoxification. I've read that it increases glutathione production. It supports lymphatic drainage. It helps with gut motility, bloating, cycle-related things. It can help with, I've noticed when I do them too frequently, my skin will actually break out, which obviously is showing me that it's doing something, which I can appreciate. But it's great support for liver function and detox pathways.
And I know nothing about this one. This is one that I'm like, okay, give me the decent. I'm skeptical because I don't know about it yet, right?
But just seeing multiple times when I'm like, I'm going to do this every night and feeling groggy, feeling more acne coming out and things like that. I'm like, oh, this is actually
something
happening here. So I am a fan. I think that it's still considered very woo-woo, but I support this biohack. So we will do a whole other episode elaborating on some of these a little bit more, just because we could literally be here talking all day about them.
But I feel like those are the most popular.
For sure. Those are definitely the ones that I see the most too. So hopefully that was helpful, but we will dive into all of that acupuncture, myofascial release, lymphatics in greater detail, because I feel like that's a good hot topic. So if you guys have any questions about that topic or any questions about the biohacks that we shared today that you want us to elaborate more on, as always, you can message us on Instagram. We're always happy to chat. But that is all for this episode of Reality Check, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.